On today's show, the Bucks play the Pacers, a really tough one on the second night of a back-to-back. The night before, it was the Detroit Pistons, and the Bucks had their hands full as well. We're going to break those both down. A couple of ejections, too. One from our coach, one from Giannis. We're going to break that down, and we're going to kind of evaluate the team here 7 games into the season. Let's get this thing started.
Lillard, step back three, on the way, got it! Damian Lillard, welcome to the Cream City. Game time has arrived.
You're listening to the Milwaukee Bucks Beat, sponsored by Hungry Lion Productions Video Production Services. Video production from start to finish. Hire them today at hungrylionproductions.com. And now, here's your host, Michael Edwards.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Michael Edwards. You are listening to the Bucks Beat. And the Bucks had a back-to-back here. First one against the Pistons, and then they follow up on the road against the Pacers. And we're going to break that Pacers game down first. You know, I'm a competitive person. Before I get into this, I'm a very competitive person. There are levels to it, obviously, but I want to win, right? I want to do good. And like even when I'm playing Yahtzee with my wife, I want to win. That being said, I don't like phrases like there's a moral victory. And normally I would talk down on that, but this game feels like one, right? First of all, Dame does not play. He has a sore calf from the night before, probably from the Pistons game. So though the Pacers are a very good basketball team, and I really do think they're definitely getting out of the first round this year, and who knows, maybe further. I mean, the Pacers lead the league in some really big stats. Obviously, it's early. But, I mean, they lead the league in points, 126 points. I mean, there's a whole 5 points between first and second place on that. They also lead the league in field goals made, field goals attempted. They're second in field goal percentage, right behind the champs, Denver. I mean, 3 points made, they're number 2. 3 points attempted, they're number 4. 3-point percentage, they're number 4. So this is a good basketball team we're playing, okay? So let's not forget that, okay? The Pacers are very good. In the past, they haven't been. So it's, you know, you see the Pacers, you see the Bucks get an L, and you think, okay, here we go. But the Pacers are good. I could debate, they're top 4 in the East, okay? So before we get into any of this, I want to make that point. The Pacers are very good. Bold, underlined, they're very good. Okay, so now Bucks start slow, and we talked to Chris Middleton, and he kind of talked about what that was like coming out of the gate.
First 5 minutes, we weren't ready for it. I mean, you hear about it, you see it on TV, but you get out there, you realize how fast those guys play. So first 5 minutes, like I said, was terrible as far as transitions, guys getting behind us. And Halliburton does a great job of throwing in the head, finding guys, taking chances sometimes. But I think as the game went on, we got better with our transition defense.
And that's true. And here's something you gotta pay attention to, okay? The Bucks were getting their ass kicked in that first quarter. You look at the Atlanta game, they never came back. They got stomped. You look at the Raptors game, they got stomped. They never came back. This one, they got back up. So that's why I talk about the moral victory. Obviously, there's more to this game than where we're at here in this conversation, but they were down 18 to one of the top offensive powerhouses so far to start the season. And our defense is suspect. Let's just be honest. It's suspect, but we're going to get into that. Okay. I'm going to talk about that later. Don't panic. Everyone calm down. Okay. And I think Coach Griff agrees with me. Here's what he had to say about the loss.
I thought we did a phenomenal job. I really, you hate losing. There's no moral victories, but the way we started the game, obviously we can't do that on the road, but we easily could have just stayed down. But we got back up, and we got ourselves into the game with great energy and effort. So it was a valiant effort from our team. Just too bad we couldn't pull it out at the end.
And, I thought they were. I really did. The way that second half went, I mean, Bucks getting stomped in the first 5 minutes of the game. And you want to see the team being successful if you're a Bucks fan, right? And you're looking around at the league and seeing the other teams, like the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics just dropped 2 in a row, though. They lost 1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then they lost a close one to the Sixers. Philly's playing good. I mean, they're trending up. Obviously, I think they've won 6 in a row. You look at the Pacers. I mean, you saw what they had. But the one thing I want to explain here, besides the fact that the Pacers are very good, Dame Lillard does not play in this game. You take Campaign and Dame Lillard. I mean, the gap between those two is pretty wide. Okay? So I don't want to take anything away from the Pacers. They won. But I still feel good about this. Even though we lost the game, I feel good about it. Giannis was gassed. He kind of talked about that post-game.
Tried to figure out how to play without Dame for the first couple of minutes. Then we were able to get back in the game, played a little bit of zone, slowed them down, forced them to take tough shots. Was able to get back to the game. And then in the second half, we had the chance to win, but they came back, made tough shots at the end. We didn't take care of the ball. I didn't take care of the ball. 2 possessions that I could shoot the ball. I didn't shoot the ball, but I was gassed, and I was able to get a win. But a lot of good things that we can learn from today. But we got to get better. Guys, a team that's scored a lot of points on us.
Let's unpack what he said there. A lot of teams are scoring a lot of points on us. So they start off in man-to-man. They get stomped. It's one of those things where sometimes things look like they're coincidences, but teams are shooting the lights out against the Bucks. So there's starting to be a pattern here, and you got to figure out why is that happening, okay? But they switch to a zone. And this has happened multiple times this season. They start out with a man-to-man. They're not doing so hot. And then they get into a zone and they start controlling the game, forcing turnovers, forcing tough shots. I mean, hey, you know what? If a team can force up some tough shots and make it, like the Heat did in round 1 last year, they deserve to win. That is what the Bucks are saying is, you do this, you're going to go ahead and beat us. In the NBA, you got to give something up. Anytime you make a change, there's going to be things you're going to have to give up. So there is no magic pill here. But the other thing is Giannis said he was gassed. And if you look down the stretch in the final 3 minutes, his legs probably weighed 500 pounds. I mean, turning the ball over, despite Giannis having a 54-point game, and he played out of his mind. Ultimately, he ended up costing us at the end there, okay? And I know that's harsh to say that, okay, because it's not the way that it sounds, but he had the ball, and he easily could have kicked it out. I mean, at that point, if he's gassed, he's got to learn to facilitate. If he doesn't have what it takes, you put 2-3 guys on me and from the NBA, I'm probably not going to make it a quarter. So, and that's most of us listening to this podcast too, right? We weren't at complete full strength. We don't have full strength Chris, and we didn't have Dame. And we were in this game against a very good Indiana Pacers team. It's a tough one though. It really is. As a fan, this is one, you really wanted this one. And it kills me that Halliburton had such a good game and contributed to the Bucks losing, because as a human being, I love that dude. I talked about it in my first podcast. He's someone that my wife knows because she taught at the high school he went to, and she taught his brother. Great man. But for those 2.5 hours during the game, he was not my friend, and he hurt us. That dude is a talent. I mean, good for him, but not so good for the Bucks. Let's talk about what happens to Coach here now. So Coach gets ejected, and previously Giannis gets ejected against the Pistons. We'll talk about Giannis first here because sequentially it makes more sense. So Giannis, first of all, the players are not allowed to talk about the refs. And I promised myself the production on this podcast would not be about slamming refs. So I want to be really careful on how I say this. But I think the ref crew from the Pistons-Bucks game on November 8th needs to be looked at for both sides. This is me as a basketball fan. Refs like that ruin games. I mean, people paid to see those players play, and there just were a lot of awful calls. There were a lot of no calls. There were a lot of, WTF calls where you're like, wait, what? And the main one being Giannis. I mean, his second technical. His first technical, we don't know. We don't know what he said. And that's obviously up to the officials. But that second one, if you watch the clip, so Giannis gets the ball, dunks it, and as he dunks it, the defender is right in front of him. So Giannis's body language is naturally like towards him. Giannis, when he dunks, he does the mean mug, and he's doing it for the audience. It's part of who he is. If you've ever watched a Bucks game in your life, you've seen him do this. It's what he does. The moment he realized, oh, there's a dude in front of me, he turns his head to his left and does his mean mug. He hesitated for a second because he just landed from dunking. Dude calls the T, throws him out of the game. So that leads into what happened tonight. Post-game, Coach Griff talked about how he needs to defend Giannis a little better. So tonight, Giannis is getting hacked. I mean, it's bad. And so far this season, I've been pretty good not yelling at the TV because, one, it terrifies my wife. But two, there's just no point, right? But tonight was one of those nights where I did yell a little bit. And I'm sure you did too if you're a fan like me, because, man, it was the NFL out there. And I haven't looked at the final numbers on, fouls and all that fun stuff, but I just feel like pretty much every time Giannis touched the ball, he was getting hacked. I do want to say one thing, even though the Bucks lost, Giannis is Miles Turner's father. There's no question. Giannis dominated Miles Turner, completely dominated him. I mean, Miles Turner finished with 21 points, but Giannis had 54 points, and for a while there, until he was gassed, if he wanted something, he just went and got it. And his free throw performance was phenomenal. And that's one thing that he's been really criticized for. 16 for 18, 88.9%, almost 90% from the line tonight. If he cleans that up and stays consistent, there's not going to be too many things we can complain about. He's got to get into basketball shape, and that's really what it comes down to. So tough loss, but I think the team grew tonight. There's no question the team grew tonight. And ultimately, I'm going to say it again, a broken record, but it's about what happens in the spring. What happens now, as long as the Bucks make the postseason, which, they're going to, that's all that matters. All right, so coming up for the Bucks, they've got the Magic on the road on Saturday, the Bulls at home on Monday, the Raptors next Wednesday on the road, and then their next tournament game on the road at Charlotte. And I'm hoping the Bucks have everything figured out by then, because after that, they have the Mavericks, the Wizards, the Celtics, some teams that can play offense. We're going to have to play defense. Big test coming up. Hopefully the Bucks figure it out. We will see you on the next podcast. I appreciate you, and thanks for listening.